Hello, grade 9. Today we're going to be talking about the second lesson of the country, Tropical North. Today we'll be covering history of the Tropical North. As you can see here, Tropical North included many tribes, such as the Carib and the Arawak tribes. These were the Native Americans. Along the Caribbean Sea lived also the Kara and the Arawak, the bell fishing villages along the Pacific coast. The Chipachua and Quechua settled in mountains and valleys in the Andes. They farmed, making cotton, cloth, gold ornaments, and traded with the Inca, which was considered one of the biggest tribes there. In the year 1400, some of these groups were conquered and became part of the Inca Empire. Spanish explorers invaded the region in the early 1500s. In the early year of 1500, Spanish adventurers landed on the Caribbean and the Atlantic coasts. They were seeking gold. When they found no gold, they lost their interest. The first Spanish settled in Venezuela. Settlement didn't appear until the year 1523, then in Colombia in the year 1525. They invaded Ecuador in 1534 after conquering the Inca. The Spanish conquered the Inca and took their silver and gold. The Spanish set up government in their new colonies. Their capitals were located where there were already Native American settlements. Most of them were inland with high elevation, which has given them a milder climate than the tropical coasts. In the year 1700, the Spanish placed Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia under a single government. Native Americans suffered greatly under the Spanish rule. They died of European diseases because they had no natural immunity or protection against these illnesses. Other Native Americans were forced to work for the Spanish colonists under a system called the encomienda. They often worked in mines for large states called haciendas. They grow coffee, tobacco, sugarcane, or other cash crops. Others were in ranches for cattle. The British and the Dutch, and also the French, fought over Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. The British and the Dutch started sugar plantations. They brought enslaved Africans to the area. So if you can see here the schedule, this timetable is clarifying that Great Britain had the British Guyana, which we call it later Guyana. Netherlands had the colony of Dutch Guyana, which later has become Suriname. France had the French Guiana, which is still till now a French colony. After almost 200 years, independence from Spain came suddenly for most of the Latin America. Between the year 1810 and the year 1825, most of Spain's former colonies had declared and won independence, and they had divided into republics. Independence from Spain came suddenly for most of the Latin America. But why? On February 16, in the year 1808, under the pretext of sending reinforcements to the French army occupying Portugal, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Spain. Thus began the Peninsular War, an important phase of the Napoleonic War that was fought between France and much of Europe between the year 1792 and the year 1815. Spanish colonists won their independence. When the French conquered Spain, Ecuador rose up in the year 1809. Then the war started between groups stayed loyal to Spain and other groups who wanted independence. At the end, Spain expelled the French and tried to restore order in South America. But the colonists restricted Spain. The Venezuelan Simon Bolivar led the revolt. He reunited Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Ecuador. He became the first president of the Republic of Gran Colombia. Gran Colombia was dissolved in the year 1830 due to political differences after Bolivar's death. Throughout the history of Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela, military or civilian leaders were dictators. After Bolivar's death, all of these countries became independent again, but wealthy landholders and wealthy business people competed for control of the government, so there were many civil wars. The British abolished slavery and brought workers from India and China in the year 1838. Also, the French and Dutch followed them in the year 1863. They brought workers from Indonesia. They worked in the plantations, then they were free by the time. But there were many challenges that have faced the countries of the tropical north. They experienced serious internal unrest since gaining the independence. This is because of the lack of strong government, which has led to major violence between political groups. This is the end of the list. Thank you.